Hello everyone. This is a brief video overview of what we have on schedule for week 4. But before we do that, I want to remind everybody how important it is to read the course announcements. If you see over here on the right-hand side, I can see how many people out of the class have actually clicked into the announcements, and clicking in doesn't necessarily tell me whether you read it, but if we look in the first couple of weeks, only 13 out of 20 were clicking in. We're still missing like maybe about a third of the class, and now in weeks 3 we're seeing that maybe only about half of the class are even clicking into the announcements, and more than half the class are not. And of the half that are clicking into them, that doesn't tell me whether or not you read them or not, but it's super important. I'm going to go ahead and click into the one for this week just to kind of show you. I do give a brief overview of what is expected, and I'm assuming that you have read that. So let me exit out of that and also go into the course and navigate to the week 4 folder, which I'll release in just a minute. But we also need to click on the week 4 overview because this tells us what we're going to do, and it will avoid a lot of confusion if everybody is reading that. So I'm going to go over this time, but moving forward, you should always look at the weekly class announcements and check throughout the week to see if there are more, and you should always check the very first thing, what are we doing this week? So if we look at this week, we see that what we're doing depends on where you are in the process. Some students have turned in a complete draft that is authentic and on task, and those students are on path 1. And so they are eligible to participate in the peer review activity and in the evidence of feedback assignment. These are the 2 assignments that are due this week, and they're meant to help us gather information that will help drive revisions for draft 2. Remember that we always write 3 drafts in this class, and everything depends on having a first draft done before we can move forward with anything else. Path 2 is for students who either, for whatever reason, didn't turn in a draft 1, or who turned in something that was too incomplete to meet the minimum threshold for participation, or in some cases, there may be a few students who have turned in something that I have questions or concerns about that required me to pull that from the stack to clarify those things before moving forward. So quite a few students are on path 2 for one reason or the other, but there's plenty of time to catch up. Those who are on path 2 don't even need to read or watch the lessons this week because you're not able to participate in the peer review and you're not able to participate in the evidence of feedback assignment. Some students, for example, turned in maybe 2 pages. That's too incomplete to be construed as a full essay. In some cases, those and other drafts also raised other questions that need to be discussed before those students move forward. So even on path 2, there's some variations. Some students need to reach out to me to schedule a Teams meeting so that we can talk and get those students caught up and on track, or to clarify questions or concerns I have about their current draft. So basically, path 1 is for students who are on track and ready for next steps. Path 2 are students who are working to catch up. So path 2 students will simply write or rewrite the literacy draft so that it's complete, so that it's authentic, and so that it is on task. In some cases, students may have written a regular narrative instead of a literacy narrative and have to kind of back up and regroup before moving forward. So just to clarify and reiterate, students who are behind won't be able to submit either of the assignments that are due this week, but they are homework assignments, so they're not worth a lot of points, but they're important to the process, and they will be picked up in the drop grades at the end of the semester if these are your only assignments where you got a low grade. So I do drop at least three homework assignments in the assignment category to offset things like that, where students may get behind or maybe forget an assignment or whatever the case may be. So one last thing to clarify before I wrap this video up is that everything moving forward in this unit, and this is a similar workflow to what we have in all the units, everything depends on getting a draft 1 done. Draft 2 is graded only on revision, and that's due next week. It's not due this week, but you can't turn in or receive any credit for a draft 2 submission with a draft 1 submission there. So you have to have a draft 1 in this week. Ideally, it should have come in last week in order to even participate or produce a draft 2. Draft 2 is based on revision, not a first draft submission after the fact. So really important to get caught up, because if not, it locks you out of assignments for not only this week, but it locks you out of the big assignment or the bigger assignment next week. Draft 2 is not our final draft, by the way. We still have another draft after that one, which is draft 3. But again, everything depends on the thing that came before it, and it's important that we do them to stay on track. All right, that's it. That's a wrap. Y'all have a good day, a good week, and as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in Pronto or via email. Take care and have a great day.